We was really dangerous back then. We gonna try to hurt you really bad.
These little kids, they wake up doing this. Pop, pop, pop. You can't even walk the street no more.
Right here, a guy was shot and killed.
My heart was broke. That was my son, my boy.
Albany's fourth homicide of the year. A man shot and killed last night on Livingston Avenue.
I don't think it's safe for kids. It's not even safe for adults.
Nothing is ever the same when you lose your loved one to homicide.
The younger kids are more dangerous because they don't care at all. These are the guns that kill people.
When I started living life on the streets, I probably was around 12 going on 13. I got really involved in the streets around the age of 14. Life on the streets is really addictive. Now you get out here, you're 14 and you're selling drugs. At that young age, I'm able to get with everything I wanted. We got liquor out here, we got weed out here, we got our guns out here, we got the dice games.
As a young teenager, Justin and 24 of his neighborhood friends started one of the most notorious gangs in Albany, the Original Gangster Killers, or OGK. They smuggled guns, they sold drugs, they terrorized neighborhoods.
We were really dangerous back then. If something happened to us, like we weren't trying to go out to play with you. We were gonna try to hurt you really bad, you know?
Through gun violence and intimidation, the OGK earned respect and street credit. The police wanted to arrest them, and kids wanted to be them.
You gain that respect by basically being on the front line. Whenever it's time to fight, you're gonna go out there and fight. You always want that credibility. Don't mess with him. He could fight.
40% of children in these predominantly poor black neighborhoods don't graduate. It's a staggering statistic that can lead to a life on the streets. Pastor Charlie Muller, a Golden Gloves boxing champion, gave up his passion for the sport to take on this fight.
From the day I met the Lord, it just, my heart was softened. I couldn't pursue a boxing career because I couldn't hit anyone anymore. Send the kids up, okay?
I will.
Summer program 11 to 1 every day.
All right, Pastor.
I like your hair, though.
Thank you.
After spending most of his life passionate about Albany, he remembers the day it all changed.
We read an article in the Times-Union, said 30% of inner city kids go to bed hungry.
According to the Children's Hunger Alliance, hungry children are twice as likely to have behavioral problems and drop out of school. This makes them more likely to join and stay in a gang.
They're in a broken home themselves and they didn't get dinner, they're gonna what? They're gonna steal from the store, they're gonna get involved with, criminal activity. And then where do you go from there? At one point, we were feeding 1,700 kids a day.
In an effort to solve the problem, Pastor Charlie opened 3 churches and 3 community centers. He also operates food and clothing drives across the city. Over the years, he's fed nearly 600,000 children.
Majority of these kids that get involved with the gangs and get involved with selling drugs and being out until 2, 3, 4 in the morning, it's because they haven't had the proper education, and that's because they haven't had the proper family.
I got like 7 children, so this is a blessing for me. I've been being blessed all summer.
Yeah.
I thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. We're always fighting, whether we're fighting politics or fighting the city or fighting to make these corners safe.
Keeping corners safe is a challenge when turf wars trigger constant tension.
I mean, if you did anything to somebody from down here, we ain't gonna just go in your ear and just shoot at shots in the air or shoot at a tree or anything. We're gonna try to get you.
In 1999, at just 14, Justin helped start the gang with one of his closest friends, Elijah Cancer.
Here's a good one.
Most kids join gangs because they don't have support at home. That wasn't the case for Elijah Cancer.
We had a wonderful relationship. That was my son, my boy. My son is every bit of me. We are loyal to a fault.
Even though Elijah's parents raised him with love and guidance, he couldn't resist the seduction of the street.
That street life is very different from any other life, You get sucked in and you might not come back out.
Some of the choices he made weren't good choices based on the way his mother and I brought him up.
He tried to hide a lot of what he was doing out in the streets from his parents and stuff, because he knew that his parents wouldn't approve of the bad things he was doing, so.
He posted this on Facebook and he said, "Behind every great man is the great woman that raised him." His mommy. He wasn't a bully, he was just a protector. Like, nobody messed with him because he was big. He was a big boy.
His younger brother Dominic saw the darker side of Elijah's life.
I was always afraid for him. Every night that, I wouldn't see him at dinner or something like that, I was wondering where he was. Sometimes I would wait in his room, until he got home.
Kathy Sheehan has been Albany's mayor for 5 years. She struggles with decades of failed policy that has discouraged investment, lowered property values, and fueled poverty.
Just like with any disease, prevention is key. And if we can prevent young people or anybody from getting to the point where they're resorting to violence, then we've achieved something that is far greater and is going to have far more impact than simply approaching this from the law enforcement side of the equation.
Pastor Charlie says it's not about changing policy, it's about making change in a grassroots way.
If we get the message out in the proper way, more corners can be safe. I believe that. Who's going with me? Right here, a guy was shot and killed, and these guys were like, wow. So you got one memorial, and that night now you're building another memorial, and just down the street there's another memorial. So it's a real challenge.
Pastor Charlie believes to solve the problem, you have to get to the heart of it, the people who live there.
My observation is, a lot of these kids don't have outlets, you know what I mean? And what they doing is they focusing on a lot of negative things going on. Like, I deal with a lot of kids on the school bus, and I hear what's going on. They want to fight. Come on, you want to fight me? You want to fight me? What is this fight stuff?
They fight for survival. The more violent they are, the more respect they get. Not everyone can tolerate the violence. Mary Jones moved her family out of Albany to a nearby city, fearing for their lives.
So my name is Marai Miley. That's my first name, and my last name is Jones, and I'm the age of 9. Like this.
She was 6 years old. Mom, if my modeling career, her words, not mine, if my modeling career don't take off, I'm gonna go to college to be a master chef. Who got to back up at 6?
Who's a better cook?
She gonna say her.
Don't tell her I said.
If I told you the difference of 10 and 5, how would you write that?
Now homeschooling her daughter, Mary knows she made the right decisions for her family.
Albany is out of control with the murders and the crime rate. It's just ridiculous. Like, it's not safe. No, it's not safe. It's not safe for your kids. You don't feel comfortable having your kids freely outside, playing. You don't feel comfortable with your kids basically really going to school.
Residents frustrated as violence continues to spiral out of control. Saturday morning shooting marking the 7th homicide this year.
They're carrying to protect themselves. Some of them are carrying because, there's been threats on their lives. They're carrying because they're maybe dealing in drugs in a territory they're not allowed to.
The OGK was powerful, and that power was dangerous. They were accused of attempted murder, robbery, and cornering the market on drugs. The OGK was untouchable.
I didn't have to answer to nobody. I was just out here and enjoying my life. That's how I felt, like I was enjoying my life.
But that enjoyment could turn deadly in seconds.
I heard the gunshots. Boom, 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 boom. And I thought that the whole block had exploded. So when I went downstairs to peek outside, I'm just peeking because I didn't have my glasses on, so I couldn't see far. But someone seen me, and they said it was my son. I've never seen so much blood.
I'm asking him like, yo, where's my brother? Where's my brother?
Nearly every city in New York State is coping with gun violence. In 2018, Albany had its third highest rate of gun fatalities in 30 years.
I heard the gunshots. Boom, 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 boom. And I thought that the whole block had exploded. When I went out there and seen him with all the blood, all his guts was up on his stomach, and he was looking at me because he was dependent on me to look at him and tell him that he's all right. So I had to like, say, you're gonna be all right, you're gonna be all right. But inside, I was freaking out. I've never seen so much blood. I never seen nobody literally get shot, and my son. And I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed, and he came through. He lived, he survived.
Elijah was shot 6 times, in the leg, arm, chest, and stomach. He was only 18.
It was just like another toy to me, you know? Just from playing with squirt guns to paintball guns to BB guns, I was like unconscious of how meaningful a gun is, you know, and how much damage it would do to an individual.
Unfortunately, sometimes it's thought that it's okay to be violent. It's okay to live this type of lifestyle. If you change your perception, then maybe you won't feel as though you need to be violent or you need to bring violence to someone else.
Would you feel safe sending your child out?
You know, that's a strong measure. That's what I hold myself to. If it's not a street that I would want my kid to walk to school down, that's not acceptable. No parent should have that concern and have that fear. And so we have a lot of work to do.
Mayor Kathy Sheehan knows firsthand how unpredictable gun violence can be.
You know, standing at the corner of First and Quail is hard for me. That's where my son's brother was murdered. And I see the impact that that has had on him and his birth family.
One man was killed. We later learned that man was 27-year-old Christopher Hardy. Albany Mayor Kathy Sheehan confirmed Hardy was related to her adopted son.
Anything could happen at any given time because you never know who might have a problem or an issue that you feel you might want to resolve with gunplay.
Getting shot 6 times was not enough to make Elijah give up his life on the street. Although he went to college to try and better himself, he couldn't leave his gang life behind.
Growing up, you think you need to be around or with certain people, and when certain things happen, if you're there, whether you're a part of it or not, you're guilty as charged.
In 2009, police charged dozens of Albany gang members in a large-scale takedown of a violent multi-state drug ring tied to 27 shootings, 3 killings, and 2 shootings at police officers.
The OGK members protected their narcotics distribution territory with violence as necessary.
Federal prosecutors indicted 25 OGK members and associates Thursday on charges related to drug crimes.
My heart was broke. But I told him, you pay your price, get it done, and you come home.
Elijah spent almost a decade behind bars. During that time, he made a choice to turn his life around.
I was proud of him. That time that he spent in prison helped him try to make something of himself, and not just for himself, but for his kids.
His attitude towards everything changed. How he looked at people, or, you know, whether he was going to befriend you or not befriend you.
Once released from prison, Elijah made it his mission to help the communities he once terrorized.
He found his calling when he found Snug, when he realized that he could go into neighborhoods and talk to young men.
Nothing is ever the same when you lose your loved one to homicide.
Albany 518 Snug is a program which uses outreach workers to interrupt violence. Elijah was awarded the Outreach Worker of the Year in 2018. Together, Elijah and Justin found their place with Snug.
I'm not this person that wants to see people hurt. You know, I don't want to see a mother crying because I killed her son, or my mother crying because somebody killed me, and my kids happen to grow up without a father like I did.
After prison, Elijah started going to church and working to save the lives of inner city children. That's when he met Marai Miley and became her inspiration.
He would tell me he's my manager, and every time he would come around, he'll ask me what's his name, and I'll say Uncle Elijah.
Yep, I'm your uncle. That's it. I'm gonna be your manager, cause you a star. You going places. You doing things.
So my mom had made a poem, and she wanted to stop and cure the violence of what's going on in our community.
And she was like, Mom, this would be better if I make it into a song and let me add my piece. So she tweaked it a little.
Back in the days was the best on my block. No jumping, you had a fair shot. Fire hydrants when it got hot. Cookouts, kids laughing, running around chit-chatting.
It's more so sad because she's 9 years old and she's very affected about all the gun violence that's going on, or violence, period.
Yo, Ma, bring it back. What happened? Nowadays, you think you're getting paid to shoot up blocks every single day. Kids can't come out to even play.
At 9, we was playing with Barbies. We was hopscotching.
What a life. What a waste. Get it together. We gotta make it happen. More change and no click-clacking. More hugs and no gun grabbing.
Initially, when she wrote that, and I read that, I cried.
Put down the guns, pretty please. I wanna see 18.
That touched me, that sent a different type of vibe through me. I was like, wow, that's how you think at 9?
Shots just ringing from down, up, across, and just boom, 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 boom.
Okay, God, he's shot again. You brought him through that time. You'll bring him through this time.
What's up, girls?
What you doing over here?
We're walking and praying and talking.
Thank you.
Okay. And you've lived in this challenging neighborhood a long time.
In this house 10 years, this neighborhood 20 plus years.
Now, how many kids you raised here?
My 8 and plus everybody else's.
We're not enforcing truancy. We're not seeing a high graduation rate.
These kids need that push.
Yeah.
And a lot of these parents, they get up in the morning and go to work. They tell their kids to go to school. These kids are teenagers. They start walking to school and take a detour.
2 years ago, we had a shooting and a lot of people didn't even send their kids down there.
Right. And some kids are still scared to be in this park because of all this stuff. And at a certain time down this park, there's no lights, no nothing. People, not only the kids, people get off for work. They scared. They walk in the street because they scared to come through the park because there ain't no lights. You don't know what's going to happen to you.
One of the things that the community, I think, has been recognizing and understanding is that this is not going to work if what we have to do is put a police officer at every corner.
Do you think guns are the problem, or do you think what's happening in these neighborhoods is the problem? I don't think the guns are the problem. I think the people are the problem, not the guns, because the people pull these triggers. The guns don't pull themselves.
Little kids they wake up doing this. Pop, 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 pop. They getting taught to do this. Pop, 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 pop. A couple of my kids got shot up.
Yeah.
One kid got shot up right in front of the house. You know, he was fixing a guy's radio. Guy came by and hit him with 4 bullets. It's the people and the way they brought up with guns around here. You know what I mean? They think that's the solution. You can't even walk the street no more. You know, I was so glad when 4th of July went by. Oh, yeah. I mean, Lord, that's the worst part of the year for me, man. You know, it's just boom, bang, boom, 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 boom. You know, it's just crazy, man.
In the first 2 weeks of July 2018, there were 6 shootings in the city of Albany.
You know, if you're violent, people don't mess with you, and you can sell your drugs. Or you can rob people, and people will be scared. Or you can tell them, go do this for me, and they'll do it. The gun gives you the power. So yeah, this is basically where it all happened.
On July 8, 2018, Elijah and his brother Dominic were attending a memorial for a close friend who was murdered on the block. But it wasn't long before the celebration turned violent.
According to officials, 2 men were trying to de-escalate a fight near Tuna Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue. That's when gunfire erupted. 1 man was hit in the arm. Another, 32-year-old Elijah Ganser, was struck 3 times.
I just hear shots. Shots just ringing from down, up, across, and just boom, 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 boom. I'm asking them like, yo, where's my brother? Where's my brother? And next thing you know, they pointed up the street to where we are now.
My niece called me like almost 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't like answering the phone that late at night.
Kind of found him here, laying on his back. And my first initial thought was trying to just get him to the hospital as fast as I can.
And then she goes, Auntie, and she's screaming. Did you hear? I'm like, what? I'm already panicked because I know it's one of my kids.
There was really no blood on the front of him. All the blood was coming from his back area. So I tried to flip him over, but once I flipped him over, he was making a grunt, like it was hurting him.
It was deja vu all over again, and my mindset coming down the hill was, okay, God, he's shot again. You brought him through that time, you'll bring him through this time. I happened to get there, they were still working on him. The detective wouldn't let me go over. It was a crime scene, understood. I remember it like it was yesterday.
I can't believe it. Absolutely couldn't believe it. And then she said he got shot.
This is actually where my brother's life ended.
Elijah was taken by the very thing that once ruled his life and later what he was working desperately to fight.
Through a tragedy, many people started to rally. It's very positive. Now let's go forward with that positivity in our neighborhoods.
What we can do as a community is work to ensure, number one, we're doing all that we can to enforce the laws and to keep people safe, but then also looking at these underlying issues that happen to victims of violence and their families.
You have to give these babies chances. You can't just be like, no, or I'm too tired. I be exhausted, but I don't care, because these kids that I was given on borrowed time.
Don't ever give up on your children. Kids don't ask to come into this world, but they're a gift from God. My son was a gift to us. Gift, still is.
Stop picking up the guns. You're not only hurting that person, you're hurting the family, you're hurting the kids, you're hurting people that love them, and you're being selfish.